This is Inside the Beehive, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of Team Visma Lease.
Welcome to Inside the Beehive, the off-season tapes recorded in our team bus parked somewhere in Europe and published on our YouTube and podcast channels. We talked to some of the main protagonists of the 2025 cycling season of Team Visma Lease. And in this episode, we sit down with Head of Racing Grischa Niermann to talk about the 2025 cycling season, the transfer window and the preparations for 2026.
Inside the Beehive.
Welcome to the show, Grischa. We thought let's make you feel as comfortable as possible, and therefore we are seated in the team bus, a place where you spend a considerable amount of time during the season. Can you tell the listeners and maybe point out to the viewers where you usually sit in the bus?
Yeah,
as a DS.
Welcome, first of all, in my living room. But to be clear, this is the seats for the riders, and I'm usually sitting back there. We call it the punishment bench. The coaches are sitting there, and sometimes also a rider has to sit there when we have too many riders, and then one or two have to sit on the punishment bench with the coaches, unfortunately.
But that is where you sit while driving. But usually, when also something that the audience will probably have seen, usually you're also standing there where our cameraman is standing now, right?
Yes, when we have the meetings, normally we have a big screen in front, so I stand close to the screen to also point out stuff that we put in our PowerPoint presentation, and then most of the times I'm in the front of the bus for that.
What memories come to mind sitting in a team bus in November? From
over the season.
Yeah,
a lot of good memories, of course. We won a lot of nice races, especially the Giro and the Vuelta. Of course, also some disappointments that we had during the season. Looking back, but I think it's always a nice place to really a little bit, except the living room, it's maybe a bit exaggerated, but the place where the riders and the coaches can get ready and also they can still relax a bit just before the race, when outside, especially in Tour de France, the crowds are already really huge, and everybody is shouting and screaming, and it's very hectic in the bus. Most of the time it's quite calm. Sometimes there's hard music playing to fire up a little bit, of course, but it's a sport where we spend a lot of time.
How do you look back on the 2025 cycling season?
I think in general with a good feeling. We had the big goal of going for all 3 Grand Tours again, and we won 2 of them. We finished second in Tour de France, so I think we can call it a success. Although, of course, the biggest race of the year is the Tour de France. We would have really liked to win it, and this year it was not possible against Tadej Pogačar. But for the rest, I think we can consider this a successful season. Was it our best season ever? For sure, also not. But we had a lot of nice results. I think the stage victories of Wout, of course, come into mind in Siena and in Paris, and the GC victory of Simon, GC victory of Jonas, and Matteo winning Paris-Nice once again, and these races we are really proud of.
And this is everything I had written down as well, but also like a breakthrough season for Matthew Brennan, maybe worth mentioning. What performance, and I don't talk about wins, but performance will you remember the most?
Yeah, I think when you just talk about Matthew, I think this was absolutely the most unexpected performance this year. He came from the Devo team. We put him on a pretty light schedule. I mean, already last year we saw that he's very, very talented. He can win races. We put him on a light schedule to start with, like I said, and he immediately started winning, and he kept winning. And then we thought, maybe we could send him to Catalonia because there's a few sprint stages there. Then he immediately won there. And he made a big impression during the season, and that was for sure the most surprising.
What do we need to do better next season?
Also a lot of things. Unfortunately, I cannot reveal everything, but yeah, we just need to get better on a lot of aspects and try to always beat the opposition when possible. And I think we have to admit and congratulate UAE that they had a great season with I think almost 100 victories, and we're quite far from that, but that also gives us inspiration again to work even harder to look into all the details. And when you ask me, yeah, for races, for sure we didn't have the Spring Classic campaign that we would have liked to have, and that's for sure something to improve on from this year on.
How did you or we take that into account when putting together the 2026 roster?
Yeah, we took to start with. We took into account that we already knew, for example, that it will be very complicated to re-sign Olaf Koy, because we knew he wanted to go to the Tour de France, yeah, with a lead-out train as the main sprinter. While we have Jonas who can win the GC, so it's quite a complicated. Double, is it impossible? Probably not, but yeah, it was for us complicated. How can we give Olaf what he wants and what he rightfully wants, and in the end we knew that yeah, he probably will find that more in a team which doesn't have such a big GC ambition, where he can go to the biggest races in the world, especially to the Tour de France, of course, where every sprinter dreams of, with his own lead-out train. So there were some riders, yeah, we already knew it would be difficult to get a new contract with. We also, yeah, wanted to yeah, give the new generation a bigger chance, I would say. So also a few older riders left the team, which were replaced by really young guys from our Devo team, which is also a little bit in our like the way we are working and we want to work. And I think we thought about, of course, how can we improve the team, an aspect in 2024 and also 2025 unfortunately was certainly also crashes and injuries, and we for example looked for riders with, at least on paper, I would say, in their recent history, have a history of being consistent throughout the year, having good amount of race days every year, not being injured or sick all the time, and that was one of the things we, for example, looked for. We looked for talents like with Davide Piganzoli. We look for riders that can really bring experience to the team on a certain moment, like Owaindo. We look for guys that are also Bruno Amiral. We look for guys that can help Matthew, who we believe is probably already now one of the fastest sprinters in the world, especially in a hard stage or in a hard race when the sprint is uphill, where we believe that Filippo Fiorelli can play a good role in there, and that's a little bit the way how we look to new riders.
Yeah, so we look for big engines in general.
In general, and we look for, I would say, we look for real cyclists.
Yeah. But how do you detect riders that are yet to discover their full potential? How do you look at a rider? Like, for example, I think Fiorelli is maybe a good example. How do you detect a guy like him and think, okay, maybe he's not the youngest guy, but still he has so much potential, and he can take one or maybe two or even three steps in his career when he joins us?
Yeah, it goes via a lot of ways. I, of course, work really close together with Patrick Bro, who's our head of strategy. He watches every race. He comes up with a lot of suggestions, like, I think this rider could be good, and look here, this rider did a very good performance here. Then we, of course, have our data analyst that then when we are more concrete looking into a rider, we ask for their data and then analyze that. Other sports directors see riders racing or know riders, like for example Bruno. I think whoever does a Grand Tour knows that Bruno Amiral is a very, very strong rider. He's the French time trial champion, but he's also very strong uphill. He's a real powerhouse. That would be a rider that would help our apps. Is he a winner? No, but he is certainly a rider that can help our leaders win races. Sometimes it's also that the manager, of course, we get a lot of calls and emails and whatever for managers, highlights a rider that we at least say, oh, we can look into him. If you want to send him, want to send us your data, we're free to look into that. And then in the end, we come up with names that we think will make our team stronger, also within our own philosophy, that we really look out for riders where we believe we can still help them to get better.
Is it right if I think that from all the riders we signed, Davide Piganzoli is the biggest prospect, or the guy we maybe expect the most from within a couple of years?
Yeah, well, I don't want to put too much pressure on Davide. He's a young rider. He's a big talent. He's a talented GC rider. Of course, ideally he really develops in our team and becomes really a GC leader as well. But we have to see. I also think that Louis Barret is a very, very good rider for the future, who's very good in the hard one-day races. And on the other hand, I also think that it could also be that Anton Schiffer, who is really he's not a super young rider, but he only started cycling a few years ago. He had some really, really good results, and there's no guarantees, but he could also be a very big surprise in the future years.
I think you mentioned now everyone except Timo Kielich. So what does he add to the team?
Yeah, Timo, we of course also had to, and sorry Timo that I haven't mentioned you yet, but
you were coming there.
I'm sure. I was coming there exactly. Now, we also at a certain point knew we need to replace Tish Benoit. We know that Tish is, it's hard to replace him. He's a great guy. He's a great rider, very versatile, from the Cobble Classics to the Ardennes to the Grand Tours. For sure, we will miss him, but certainly in the part of support in Grand Tours, and even more so in the Cobble Classic, we think that with Timo we found also again a rider who's probably a bit underrated, who was a cyclocross rider until a few years ago, really concentrated on that, and has done not so much history on the road, but is a big talent, is somebody who's really good in positioning, in bike handling, and who impressed us by in moments in the classics, for example, where the TV coverage hasn't even started, where we saw, okay, now in this first crucial moment of the day, already for the 5th time in a row now, Timo is the first one taking the corner, for example, where 180 guys want to be first, and he has a good engine, and we really believe that he can excel also, and maybe also surprise in the classics.
That seems to me like a type of quality that you can only detect through like watching a lot of races, or even being in the peloton yourself, like talking to some of our riders maybe. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think last week we had meetings with all the coaches, and then we were talking about the Tour de France, and then say everybody is watching the race, so we don't have to send a race report in the night. And I said, I never watch the Tour de France because I'm always sitting in the car, and I don't have time to watch back 5 hours of racing afterwards. But I'm very fortunate that my colleague Patrick is watching every single race that exists on the cycling calendar, or that is sent out on television, and he sees everything, and if I haven't seen it, then for sure he sees it, and he comes back to me about it, and that's very, very helpful a lot of times.
Yeah, it's still like, it seems a bit, everyone's talking a lot about data, and of course in cycling data is very important, especially when it comes to climbers, but there's also other qualities where you need like more old school scouting system as you just
but for me,
described?
it's like I would also, is it old school scouting system?
It
And
seems a bit
I
old
also
school.
really believe in data, and we use a lot of data, and that's also necessary. But on the other hand, also data is not everything. You also you need the racing skills, the bike handling, also like the consistency, that not every time you crash you break a bone, and there are never guarantees, but there are also like some parts you look into which are not so tangible that you can just put a number on it, and on the basis of the number can say this is a good rider or this is not a good rider, and that's something we certainly also look like, and we look after. We are not only going by the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Is that also a reason why we have Pietro Matteo and Tim Rex coming up from our Devo team? Because obviously we know them personally, we know also their numbers, but I think in both cases it's more their personality and the way they ride that persuaded us to make that step up. Or
Yes and no. In this case, I wouldn't agree with you, because I think in that case it's with Tim and with Pietro, of course. Yeah, we know their personalities, we know their way of working, we really like it. But also there, they didn't have the results, but they do have the numbers. They showed that they are really strong, and they can push numbers in races which are also absolutely good enough in the pro peloton. And on top of that, we think really good personalities. We like them. They will have a bit of a different role, more of a supportive role in the team. But that's also super important. And I think in their case, they were not the big winners on the under 23 circus, but I think it also says enough that I think the under 23 leader of the Belgium team wanted Tim in the world, and the leader of the Italian team, the world champion, I can't name his name because he's riding for a different team, but he wanted Pietro in the race, and I think these are like support riders who we hope we can develop in the future also to world-class support riders, and they actually do have very good numbers, but they didn't win a lot of races yet.
But even there, it seems more important to know these other qualities than knowing just the numbers, which are of course the basis of everything. But
yeah, it's of course always good also to know the person behind and behind the numbers, and know, okay, with Tim and with Pietro, we 100% surely know these guys will fit very well into our team. And of course, with the rider you only spoke to a few times in an online meeting, and then you negotiate the contract, there are never guarantees. Of course, we also find it important that we have these conversations, that we get an impression of the rider. But we cannot say, okay, now you come to our team and we will test you for half a year, and then we'll tell you if you get a contract. It doesn't work like this. And I think we have a development team, and the purpose of the development team is to produce world-class riders. We were very fortunate with Matthew now coming through the ranks, with Olaf coming through the ranks before. We have a lot of more great riders from the Devo team, but I think these are the two big winners that we produced in recent years. But also it can also produce very good support riders.
how I think that's pretty clear. About how you constructed together with all your colleagues, of course, the 2026 roster. Do you have the first meetings have been, you've done the first meetings. Do you have already in mind or an idea of how the puzzle fits? Or is it too soon?
No, of course we have an idea, and and then there's also it's also written down. It's not discussed with the riders yet, only with some of the main guys. But certainly we have an idea of how we want to approach next season, and we will have the December camp to talk to all of the riders and to talk about their race programs, what we have in mind for them.
Yeah. So the focus right now in this phase of the start of the preparation is making plans, and for the riders to start up again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the riders, all of them already started the winter training for quite a while we have our team days now, then we go on training camp in December. Then, of course, in January already a team goes to Rananda, and these guys, of course, already know that for a longer period of time that they will go to Australia. And then we will, December camp is really the real start of the preparation, like together for 2026.
What can we wish you for 2026?
A lot of wins, maybe. And that's a nice goal, and I mean, it's no secret that our biggest goal and biggest dream is always winning the Tour de France.
Okay, then I wish you that. Would be nice. Winning a Tour de France.
It would be nice.
Yeah, more than nice, I think. I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us, Grischa.
And you.
To our audience, don't forget to subscribe or comment to our YouTube or podcast channels. Make sure to listen also to the other episodes with some very interesting riders as well. And see you there. Bye.
Inside the Beehive was brought to you by Visma, Cervelo and Lease.